Hi everyone, welcome back to Legendary Arbitrage. Today is the big question, the question that's on everybody's mind. Is Amazon worth getting into in 2021? And the short answer is yes. As long as you can put in the work and put in the time and dedicate yourself to getting those products that are going to make you money and getting them to Amazon. Because it's not as easy as scanning a product and saying, oh, this is going to make me $2, and then you send it in. It doesn't work that way. You have to do your research. You have to check to make sure if it's worth it and if it's going to stay worth it. If it's it could be worth it today, but it'll end up not being worth it tomorrow. And even guys with all the experience in the world still send in products where the price drops and that's it, and they've lost money on that product. So, make sure to mitigate that, to minimize it, you have to do your research. The other thing that people want to know if it's worth to get into Amazon in 2021 is IP complaints. What do I do about IP complaints? How do I avoid IP complaints? And it's kind of a subject that a lot of people don't talk about. I don't find a whole lot of videos about IP complaints and what to do about them. And I think the reason for that is that most of the time you can't do anything about IP complaints because those IP complaints come in and, well, let me tell you what I do. So I'll get an IP complaint and there's two things that can happen. First of all, the first thing is you might get a message from someone who claims to be the rights owner or a representative of the rights owner, like a lawyer or an attorney's office, and they tell you, we represent the owner of this intellectual property, and we request that you remove your products from Amazon within 24 hours. Now, I've gotten those before, and most of the time, there's nothing you can do about that, really. I mean, I've emailed them back before, or I've emailed the rights owner before when I've gotten those, and no answer. Never. I've never gotten an answer. So if you don't remove it within the time frame that they give you, because they check back and they will file an official IP complaint, now you have a mark on your account and those items have been removed from Amazon and they're going to get sent back to you at your cost. So that's the first thing that can happen, and honestly, not a lot you can do about it. The second thing that can happen is that you instantly get an IP complaint with no warning and your products are removed. Okay? And you'll get multiple IP complaints for each item that you have. So if you're selling 3 items from this one product, like 3 different variations of this one product, or 3 things that are owned by the same rights owner, you're going to get 3 IP complaints in a row, which has happened to me. And once again, I emailed or tried to contact the rights owner and they just don't answer. They don't answer. And Amazon is no help in these cases unless you can find a invoice or get an invoice. You're not going to get it removed, and that's just the bottom line. And Amazon is so automated, it is extremely difficult to get an answer from a human being. So one time I had received an IP complaint and I contacted the person that filed the IP complaint, because what they did was they automatically accused me of selling counterfeit. And that's what happens a lot. They just automatically accuse you of selling counterfeit. Now the burden of proof is on me to prove that it's not counterfeit. How do you do that? With a receipt will prove that it's not counterfeit and may get your IP complaint removed, but will not allow you to continue to sell that product. So not without an invoice. So I received an IP complaint. I emailed the person who filed the complaint directly, and I told them that in the email that they're accusing me of selling counterfeit products, that this affects my business because I don't sell counterfeit products, and that I would have to get my attorneys involved if they didn't remove the IP complaint. Now, that was a little bit of a bluff. It cost me more money to get attorneys involved than it would be just to remove the product and ignore the IP complaint. So the guy actually called me, and which was great. And he ended up being really nice. And I told him the situation, and I told him where I got the product from. And he said, okay, he said, I'll remove the IP complaint, but just don't sell our products anymore. So I said, fine. That was the verbal agreement that we came to, and he did it. He messaged Amazon like he had to, and the IP complaint was removed. And that was literally the one and only time I ever had any success with an IP complaint, ever. So it doesn't hurt to try every time. And, if you hit that dead end, you just hit that dead end, and you got to stay away from that product. I had another one where I got a message from someone, who claims to represent the rights owner, and they said, I have to prove that I got the product from a legitimate source, and I got the product from like TJ Maxx or something. So what I did was, because TJ Maxx doesn't have details on their receipts, I went to TJ Maxx, found another one, okay? I took a selfie holding the product up with the big TJ Maxx sign in the background inside the store, and I sent that picture in with the product and a copy of the receipt to them, and they said, okay, it's legit, and that was it. So, so number one, if you get those letters, don't freak out right away and remove your products and all that stuff. Try to contact them first and see if you get any answers. If you're not getting any answers and you're being ignored, you better remove it, because even though they're ignoring you, it doesn't mean that they're not going to come back and drop a real IP complaint, and then you'll have a ding on your account. So make sure you do that. How do you avoid getting them in the first place? I disagree with the IP complaint process altogether, because when I scan a product and Amazon tells me that I can sell it, and then someone who claims to be the rights owner says that I can't, I fully believe that Amazon should send me a message and say, hey, the rights owner is saying you can't sell this. You need to remove it within 24 hours voluntarily, before I get a real ding on my account. Because Amazon said I could sell it, so if the rights owner says I can't, then I shouldn't be dinged because Amazon allowed me to sell it. How am I supposed to know that the rights owner has a problem with it? So that's the one thing. The other thing is, when you scan a product and when you look at your Amazon app, seller app, and you can see how many people are selling it, like if you see like just one or two people selling this product, click on it and see who it is. If it's the brand name that you have in your hand, you might not want to sell that, because if they're the only ones selling it, there's a reason for that. Okay, so it might just, no matter what the profit is, you might just be better off skipping it and forgetting about it. Because if the brand name is the seller on the product you want to sell, you're almost guaranteed an IP complaint. So that's something you can try to use to avoid getting IP complaints. But after that, it's just hit or miss. This year, like I said, I got that one and it was removed. And that was it. I didn't get hit hard this year. I know my first year I got a lot. I got like 7 or 8 IP complaints, and I was extremely nervous that I was going to get suspended. And I didn't. And after 6 months, those IP complaints disappear from your account. So now I'm free and clear, and I had that one removed. So I had, almost for the whole year, I had 0 IP complaints. So, that's the best advice I can give you about those, because it's difficult. I'm always like, every time I see a message in my email from Amazon, I'm like, oh God, what is this? And it ends up being nothing. So that's all you can do. It's a difficult thing to try to predict, because you don't know. you know, and the IP complaints that I've gotten are mostly from these no-name brands that I never even heard of in the first place. So what are you going to do about it? You know, not a lot, unfortunately. So keep that in mind with those. And like I said, for 2021, it's definitely worth getting into. I think because of all this COVID, a lot of people got used to ordering stuff online, and I think that's going to translate into 2021, where people are just like, oh, well, you know, Amazon was so easy, I'll just keep using it, or I'll keep doing it. And because my sales for January, even now, are already up from last January, or last month, and last January, both. So, you know, I think that 2021 is going to be at least as big of a year, or even a bigger year than 2020 was. So, you know, there's room for everyone in this business, and the time to get into it is now. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I gave you a little bit of information, something you can use. And just remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.